Welcome to Veterans Perspectives. This is Jeff, your host. We need to talk about ICE in Minnesota again. This time for the January 2024 killing of Alex Pretti. We're going to talk about some stuff that is going to make people react emotionally, including myself, and that's okay. But we need to discuss both sides. So let's break it down, okay? Here's the situation. Federal agents, Border Patrol / ICE, because the way I understand it is ICE had contracted Border Patrol agents, which they do from time to time, to work for and with them during their operations in Minnesota. Okay. We're attempting to detain a subject in the Whittier neighborhood in Minnesota. Okay. So the citizens' action, Mr. Pretty's action, witnesses and video confirm that Mr. Pretti, an ICU nurse and VA employee, works for the VA, stepped between agents and another individual who was being pushed and detained, reportedly pepper sprayed. Okay. He stepped between that person and law enforcement. You cannot do that. You can't. It is non-compliance. You could hear in the video, stop, no, back up, go away, knock it off. Right? You cannot do that. That is non-compliant. Okay? He was reportedly filming, but physically intervened to shield the other person. Now, he felt the need to shield the other person. This created escalation. Okay? Agents did deploy non-lethal force first, pepper spray. Pretti was then tackled to the ground by multiple agents. Okay? The shooting. This is a trigger discipline issue, in my opinion. While Pretti was on the ground and allegedly being subdued by agents, shots were fired by an agent. Okay? The weapon factor. Pretti was a legal gun owner with a permit, and I'm a Second Amendment guy. Okay? He has a legal right to own a gun. He has a legal right to carry that gun. He even followed the laws of his state and had a permit. I'm a constitutional carry guy. The Constitution is my permit, but hey, he followed his state's rules and got his permit. Department of Homeland Security claims he approached with a handgun. Witnesses and video suggest he was holding a phone, and the gun may have been holstered or not in his hands when shots were fired, according to witnesses and other sources. So this has turned into a he said, she said. So there are two sides here, as there are to everything. How to hold the citizen accountable, the law and order argument. If your stance is that the citizen must follow lawful orders and to maintain societal order, you are arguing for the enforcement of 18 U.S. Code 111, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers. The argument, regardless of one's political view, does not matter, of ICE, physically intervening in a federal arrest is a felony. That's the law. Okay? Street justice or vigilante justice, vigilante intervention by citizens creates chaos. That's the argument. The accountability point. You can argue that the root cause of the tragedy was the decision to physically obstruct law enforcement rather than recording from a safe distance and fighting it in court later. Okay? Your actions, support statements from Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, FELOA, or local police union that emphasize the danger of civilians inserting themselves into tactical situations. There are multiple examples throughout this country of civilian vigilante justice creating chaos and causing harm to both the person trying to enact justice, law enforcement officers, and even the potential criminal and or potential victim. Multiple examples. Okay? Now, this is not my argument. This is just an argument. Here is the other argument. How to hold law enforcement accountable. The trigger discipline argument. Even if a citizen is resisting, Law enforcement is bound by Graham versus Connor. Yes, I am going to quote Supreme Court cases. You're welcome. Which dictates that force must be objectively reasonable. The argument: non-compliance is not a death sentence. Okay? If Pretti was already pepper sprayed and tackled, subdued, the immediate transition to lethal force suggests a failure of escalation of force EOF protocols. Okay? The accountability points: panic fire. If agents shot while their partners were wrestling the suspect, they endangered their own team. Crossfire, friendly fire. And executed a suspect who was already being neutralized. And identification: did they identify the gun before shooting, or did they shoot because they saw a gun on his person while wrestling? Simply possessing a firearm, specifically with a permit, does not justify lethal force unless it's being brandished and pointed. As someone who is engaged in rules of engagement before, this is a key distinction. Having a weapon on you does not warrant a police officer, a federal law enforcement officer, the right to shoot you at all in any way. Therefore, unless that weapon was brandished, this is a major issue. Action: demand the release of unedited body cam footage. The DHS ICE agents deployed in Operation Metro Surge are required to wear them. Red flag: if the footage is withheld, it often indicates the shooting does not align with the imminent threat narrative. Again, this is not my argument. It is an argument. Okay? We also have to remember with both of these arguments, and I want you guys to listen to this next point very carefully. Who are the people yelling and screaming the most about both of these arguments? Pause for a moment, think about it. You're all smart people. Politicians. On the left and the right. Okay, remember, left wing, right wing, they're all wings on the same shit bird. And that same shit bird craps all over we the people. Remember that. Okay? Congressional oversight has turned into a political game. You have the left going on Twitter, X. Well, I'm going to demand entry into their stuff and read all their stuff. They haven't done shit. They haven't done a goddamn thing, and you know it. And then the right just goes, well, you know, they're law enforcement. They can do what they want. No, they can't. They're bound by the law. In fact, they should be more bound by the law. Because they are the enforcement of what Congress creates. You know, laws. I know Congress forgets what they're supposed to do because they don't fucking do it. So here is what I suggest happens. Congress does need to be involved. As much as I hate it, it has to happen. And Homeland Security needs to get their shit together. So the House Judiciary Committee and Homeland Security committees need to have a congressional inquiry into the rules of engagement used in Operation Metro Surge. Okay? What are part of those rules of engagement? They need to be made public. Not altered and then made public. Made public. Okay? People can file a Freedom of Information request. That's your right as a citizen. It might take a while for you to get that information. Okay? You could even ask for an after action report regarding the shooting of Alex Pretti. Okay? your Freedom of Information Act could ask and request DHS for the use of force report regarding the January 24th incident. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying that's what you can ask. The Office of the Inspector General, OIG. Department of Homeland Security, OIG, is the internal affairs, quote unquote, of the feds. They are independent of the political appointees, in theory. You can submit a complaint or support calls for an OIG investigation, which focuses strictly on policy violations. I have researched the verbiage before I even hit play and recorded this video. Okay? Did the agent violate policy by shooting a subdued subject? Okay? Now, I know people are going to ask where I stand on this. No one should die for protesting. However, you cannot physically intervene with law enforcement and expect them to always do the right thing. Because they have proven time and time again that they either lack the training or they lack the compassion or they lack the foresight to stop fucking shooting people. Pretti was a citizen of the United States of America. He's allowed to protest. He's not allowed to physically intervene. Okay? But he was subdued. From everything I've seen, he was subdued. Now, new evidence, and I know that a lot of people have a problem with people coming up with their own arguments with evidence that is currently available and then changing their minds when new evidence is available. It's the old argument. When I was a kid, I thought chocolate milk came from brown cows. And then I grew up and realized that wasn't the fucking case. So I changed my argument. But you all live in this fucking world where you think that what I say today has to remain the same even though I learn new information. So grow up. Grow up. In my opinion, no one should be shot by fucking law enforcement who has been pepper sprayed and subdued. So ICE, stop fucking shooting people. How about that? How about we start there? Step one, stop fucking shooting people. Maybe it's time, Mr. President, that we back off. And yes, I'm going to blame the president here. Okay? Not for the shooting, but for the deployment of ICE. Maybe it's time we back off and reassess this course of action on how we are, quote unquote, rounding up illegal immigrants because it's leading to the deaths of American citizens. Not at the same rate as some of the deaths that have occurred due to some illegal immigrants, mind you, right? And I'm all for illegal immigrants who are criminals being deported out of this country. I've always been for that. I live on a border state. Get the drugs out of my fucking country. But we need a path to citizenship for the ones that have been here contributing to this society. Last time I checked, we're an immigrant nation. My people weren't born here. They were born in fucking Ireland. We ran out of potatoes, so we came over here. My people did not own slaves, so stop saying that. We were treated like shit because we were Catholic. And we were part of the immigrant experience. We need to remember what we are as a nation. We're supposed to be the light on the hill. We're supposed to be the beacon. Right now, we're acting like a bunch of assholes to each other because of our government. So my conclusion here on this very well-constructed rant, by the way, I expect you down in the comments to tell me how well-constructed this rant was. In conclusion, stop fucking shooting American citizens. The government, stop it now. And citizens arguing on social media, stop buying into what the government wants from you. They want you divided. This is exactly what they want. We're heading into midterm season. We're about to vote again for Congress. All of the House, 1/3 of the Senate. That's how it works every 2 years. Okay? That's coming up again. You'll forget because you'll fight about the next fucking thing. It's already starting because I'm seeing all on my timeline. I'm deleting my TikTok because it's owned by this and security concerns. Shut up. No, you're not. Shut the fuck up. No, you're not. You're a liar. Stop doing what they want. Stop hopping on the next trendy thing and screaming and yelling about that until the next trendy thing comes up. Be real. Thank you for listening.